you want to try to build a system is probably the best advice I would give, and have something that's complete, and you've got, sort of your answers for everything that you would potentially see, and be able to attack, every part of the field, every situation. You've got your identity, I think, as a coordinator or a coach. You've got the stuff that you believe in, and so, it's having those core principles, but and that's kind of the foundation that everything is built on. But then I think year in, year out, you want to try to evolve. That's probably the biggest thing I would say in terms of change from year to year. You don't want to, be overhauling everything on a yearly basis, but, trying to stay ahead of, the trend as much as possible. I believe in trying to be a little bit different than what, maybe everybody else is doing. If when you're playing opponents, if they're preparing for something for 3 weeks and they get to you and all of a sudden they've got to do something different, I think there's an advantage to that. So I think it's trying to find those nuances and what you can potentially tweak and add in every year, and just try to find better ways to maybe teach stuff, package stuff. And then in terms of personnel, I think at the university level, like Coach Sheahan said, when you come into a new situation, you inherit players. And so, that's one aspect of it. But I think in the recruiting game, you kind of get to bring in who you want in your offense and who fits kind of what you do. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're utilizing the strengths of your players. I would always start with what the offensive line can do. How can we protect? If we have any deficiencies, let's make sure that we kind of, hide those and try to make sure we can protect the quarterback first and foremost. How are we going to be able to run the football and then, play to your quarterback's strengths a little bit? If he's an outstanding runner, you may have to do some stuff like that, but I think it's more so playing to his strengths. And then, year in, year out, it's how are we going to get the ball into our playmakers' hands? Because, from year to year, you're going to get, different players who are the best players in the field. And ideally, you want to get the ball in their hands, as much as you possibly
by
can.
design, at this time of year and for the past 4 or 5 months, you keep honing and tweaking your offense so that it is as complete as you possibly can. So what you do is you go back and you look at as many defensive schemes, a lot, particularly in the good teams, the teams that you're projecting as being, playoff teams or postseason teams. You have to make sure that you have answers for how you're going to attack them. All right. And then on a weekly basis, what you do is you're going to throw things out, right? I mean, you just can't practice all the things, et cetera. So I think if you strive to have an offense that's complete, and that is the ability to give your kids an answer for everything. Okay. So that means that when you go through the weekly analysis that Gaetan has alluded to, you're going to find some things in there that aren't necessary to defeat your opponent that week. So, you're going to be able to shelve those things, not eliminate them, but shelve them. You may need to come back and get them at different points in the season or the following week or whatever. Okay. And that, I think that leads to that. Then the next thing, I think on a weekly basis, the critical thing on offense, I'm sure Coach Waterman, okay, is, hey, we've got 3 or 4 outstanding players on offense. The guys that are going to make a difference, and I don't want to use the term win the game for you, but it's obvious that some guys have the ability to make people miss. There are people, when they get the ball in space, they're more effective than others. So you have to make sure that all of the bullets in your gun were fired, okay? That's what I would add to what Gaetan already said.